Claire thought the fake accusations were the worst Vanessa could do, but then police found photographs of Claire and Ryan marked with red X's inside Vanessa's backpack. In high school, Vanessa Cole was the kind of girl who could walk into a room and make everyone else feel like background characters because she was beautiful, popular, and completely aware of it. Guys wanted her attention, girls wanted to be close to her, and Claire Bennett was usually standing beside her, getting mistaken for the friend who was there to hold the bags. Claire never complained, as she had convinced herself that being Vanessa's less attractive friend was a fair trade for having someone she loved. Vanessa could be cruel, especially when other people were watching, but there were moments when she could be genuinely kind, and that was enough for Claire to keep making excuses. After graduation, their lives split in two very different directions. Claire went to college, worked relentlessly, and built a career in law, while Vanessa chased attention as she became an influencer, collected brand deals, posted glamorous photos, and treated every new follower like proof that she had figured life out. Vanessa's social media exploded for a while as she was invited to events, received free clothes, and posted photos from expensive restaurants as if she lived that lifestyle every day. But then the numbers stopped moving. The sponsorships dried up, the invitations became rare, and Vanessa kept posting anyway, recycling old photos and pretending nothing had changed. By 28, Claire had become a successful attorney in Denver, Colorado, where she had her own apartment, a career she was proud of, and a boyfriend who loved her without treating her appearance like a bargaining chip. Ryan Mercer was the opposite of the men Vanessa had spent years collecting for attention, for he was not impressed by follower counts or designer clothes. He liked Claire because she was smart, stubborn, funny, and reliable. Their relationship was steady, and for the first time in her life, Claire was not waiting for someone to decide whether she was worth keeping. Then, almost out of the blue, Claire wondered what had happened to Vanessa, so she sent her a message. They agreed to meet at an ice cream shop they used to visit after school, but when Vanessa walked in, Claire barely recognized her. Heavy makeup, cosmetic work, and a polished outfit made her look less like the girl Claire remembered and more like a carefully manufactured version of her. Claire asked if she was working right now, and Vanessa smiled, saying she had been doing her own thing. When Claire asked if she meant influencing, Vanessa nodded proudly. Claire had already seen the numbers, and Vanessa's account had barely grown in years. But still, Claire decided to give her an opening. She explained that she was hiring a secretary at her firm for $65,000 a year, with benefits included, adding that she would have to start quickly, but she thought she might be interested. Vanessa stared at her and then she laughed, asking what she looked like to her, a charity case. Claire noted it was a real job, but Vanessa asked if she did not know she was an influencer, pulling out her phone and opening her profile as if she were presenting evidence in court. The glamorous posts were still there, but the engagement was practically dead. Vanessa declared that Claire had always been obsessed with proving she was better than her, but Claire replied that was not what she was doing. Vanessa looked Claire up and down, remarking that she was always the ugly friend, but now she was a lawyer. Claire said nothing, so Vanessa smiled and said that with that face, she guessed she had to be. That was the moment Claire stopped trying to save the friendship. She stood up and told her that she built her whole identity around being the hot girl, but eventually people grow up, and she was not the center of the universe anymore. Vanessa's smile disappeared, so Claire picked up her bag, told her to take care of herself, and turned toward the door, but Vanessa followed her outside. She asked when she got to meet Ryan, and when Claire asked why, Vanessa gave her that old high school smile, saying maybe he would like her better. There it was. The same competition and the same need to prove she could take something simply because Claire had it. Claire told her not to go there, but Vanessa said she was just asking, so Claire walked away. She thought that was the end of it, but it was not. 2 weeks later, Claire's phone started exploding before she even reached her office. The first message came from a coworker, then another, and then another. Someone had created social media accounts using Claire's name and started posting screenshots that appeared to show her admitting to cheating on the bar exam and bribing professors in law school. The screenshots looked convincing at first glance, but they were not real. Claire opened one with shaking hands, seeing her name was spelled correctly. Old details from college were accurate, and even the language sounded close enough to something she might have written, but the timestamps were wrong. She immediately knew who had done it, Vanessa. Claire's boss called her into his office before she could even sit down, saying they needed to talk. Claire put her phone on the desk and stated she did not write any of this, to which he replied that he believed her, but their clients did not know that yet. That sentence landed hard because the posts had tagged Claire's firm and several major clients, showing someone was not just trying to embarrass her, as they were trying to make her unemployable. Claire spent hours gathering old emails, school records, and messages that proved the screenshots were fabricated. Her boss agreed the evidence looked manipulated, but warned her that the firm could not ignore a public attack tied to her name. That night, Ryan was waiting at Claire's apartment, taking one look at her face and asking what happened. Before she could explain, her laptop chimed because someone had tried to log into her email, then her bank account, and then an old account she had not used in years. The attempted security questions were worse, asking for her first pet, her mother's maiden name, and high school details, which were all things Vanessa knew. Claire changed every password she had, while Ryan helped her activate two-factor authentication and lock down her financial accounts as they worked until nearly 3 in the morning. For the first time, Claire stopped thinking of Vanessa as a bitter old friend because this was targeted, and it was getting personal. A few days later, Claire's elderly neighbor mentioned something that made the situation even more disturbing, saying her friend Vanessa was very sweet. Claire froze and asked if she came by, and the neighbor confirmed she did, adding that she asked about her. When Claire asked what she inquired about, the neighbor revealed she asked when she usually leaves for work, when Ryan stays over, and other little things. Claire's stomach tightened because Vanessa had been inside the building, talking to Claire's neighbors and collecting information about her routine. The next morning, Claire found a folded note underneath her apartment door with no name, containing just one sentence that read, "Nice outfit yesterday?" Claire stared at it, knowing she had not told anyone what she had worn. The following day, there was another note saying, "Late night again," and then another asking, "Coffee downstairs. Saturday." The messages were not openly threatening, which was what made them so unsettling, as Vanessa wanted Claire to know she was watching. Claire installed a camera near her door, and the next night, it caught Vanessa slipping another note underneath the door at nearly 2 in the morning. Claire saved the footage, and then Vanessa changed targets. Ryan received a message from a woman claiming she needed a logo designed for a new wellness brand, offering double his normal rate and insisting they meet in person. Ryan nearly ignored it, but the money was suspiciously good, so he agreed and told Claire where he was going. 10 minutes after he arrived, the woman revealed herself to be Vanessa. She was dressed to get his attention, leaning closer, touching his arm, and smiling like she already knew how the story ended. Ryan shut it down, stating he was with Claire. Vanessa's expression changed, and she started recording as Ryan left. That night, Claire received a video from a blocked number showing Vanessa sitting across from Ryan, edited to make him look interested and almost flirtatious. Cuts between sentences removed the parts where he rejected her, so one edited moment made it sound as though Ryan had told Vanessa she looked amazing, while another made it seem like he wanted to see her again. Claire watched it twice and then heard Vanessa's laugh in the background, that fake, high-pitched laugh from the ice cream shop. Ryan came over immediately, explaining he had recorded the whole meeting as he pulled out his phone. The full recording told a completely different story, as Ryan had rejected Vanessa almost immediately, mentioned Claire, and refused to continue the meeting, while Vanessa had edited everything around those facts. Claire looked at Ryan, noting she was trying to break them up, and Ryan agreed. When she asked what would happen if that did not work, Ryan did not answer. Claire stared at the evidence on the screen, including the fake posts, the attempted account access, the notes, and the edited video. This was not jealousy anymore because Vanessa was not trying to make Claire miserable for a few days, as she was trying to dismantle her life piece by piece. Claire wanted to confront her, but Ryan stopped her, telling her not to give her what she wants. When Claire asked what she wanted, Ryan explained she wanted access to her. That stopped Claire cold because every reaction gave Vanessa another opening. So Claire made a decision to have no confrontation, no angry messages, and no begging Vanessa to stop. They would document everything, but Claire still did not understand how far Vanessa was willing to go. The next attack would not be aimed at her relationship, for it would be aimed at the one thing Vanessa knew Claire could never afford to lose: her career. The next morning, a formal complaint landed with the state bar, as someone had accused Claire of practicing law while intoxicated, stealing money from client accounts and falsifying documents. The allegations were serious enough to trigger an investigation before anyone had time to decide whether they were believable. Claire's boss called her into his office again, stating this was getting out of hand. Claire agreed, and when he asked if she knew who was behind it, Claire looked at him and said she had a strong suspicion. He did not ask for a name, but simply slid a folder across the desk, instructing her to prove it. Claire hired an attorney and started building a case instead of reacting to Vanessa's attacks one at a time. Every screenshot went into one folder, every suspicious account went into another, and the door camera footage, blocked messages, fake complaints, edited recordings, and attempted account logins were cataloged with dates and times. Ryan did the same with his business, and then Vanessa attacked him directly. Within 48 hours, Ryan's business received a flood of one-star reviews from different accounts, using different wording with the same basic accusation, claiming he had taken money and failed to deliver work, behaved inappropriately with clients, and stolen designs. None of the reviewers had ever hired him, so Ryan spent an entire day disputing the posts. Some platforms removed them after he provided records, showing there had been no transactions, while others left them online, causing his rating to drop from 4.9 to 3.2. One potential client canceled a meeting after seeing the reviews, leading Ryan to stare at his screen and state she was trying to make him look like a scammer. Claire nodded, explaining that hurting him hurts her. That afternoon, Vanessa appeared at Claire's workplace, telling reception she had an urgent legal matter and demanding to see Claire. When she was refused, She started claiming Claire had stolen money from her. Claire was in the middle of a major client presentation when security finally removed Vanessa from the lobby. The damage was not physical, but reputational, as people had seen the scene. Claire's boss waited until the presentation ended before speaking, telling her he believed her, but they needed this contained. Claire promised to handle it, and her boss reminded her that she needed to handle it legally that night. Claire and Ryan spread every piece of evidence across the kitchen table as they built a timeline from the first fake post to the latest attack. The pattern was undeniable because Vanessa was not improvising, as she was escalating. Claire began checking Vanessa's public accounts more carefully, and while the glamorous lifestyle was still there, the cracks were obvious. Old photos were being reposted as new, designer outfits appeared repeatedly, and expensive restaurant pictures were months apart despite being presented as current. Then Claire noticed something else. For Vanessa's online image did not match reality. Her apartment was gone. Her car had been repossessed, and her old influencer income had vanished. The lifestyle had apparently been financed by debt until the debt finally caught up. Then Linda Cole contacted Claire. The message arrived during work, and while Claire almost ignored it, she recognized Vanessa's mother's name and opened it. Linda was not angry, but she was desperate, so she asked Claire to meet. They sat down at a coffee shop near Claire's office the following afternoon, where Linda looked exhausted and stated that Vanessa had not been honest with them. Claire said nothing while Linda pulled out her phone, showing messages from relatives, asking for money, excuses about medical emergencies, fake business expenses, and requests for help with rent and car repairs. Then Linda showed Claire something worse. Vanessa had been staying with relatives and taking advantage of them until they cut her off, and she had even tried using someone else's financial information to obtain credit. But when confronted, she threatened to invent accusations against the people who had helped her. Claire stared at the screen and asked how long this had been happening, and Linda's voice cracked as she admitted it had been years, adding that she was not the first person. That sentence changed the scale of everything. Claire learned that other people Vanessa had once called friends had suffered similar attacks, as someone had lost a job after Vanessa fabricated evidence, while someone else had nearly had a wedding collapse after Vanessa stole money from vendors and blamed the bride. Linda had believed Vanessa was struggling, but now she understood Vanessa had been manufacturing disasters and then using those disasters to manipulate people into rescuing her. Linda whispered, asking if she was going to stop, but Claire looked down at the evidence and said she did not think she knew how. Linda asked Claire for one thing, begging her not to let this destroy her, but Claire looked up and stated she was destroying herself. Linda nodded slowly, asking if there was a way to make her get real help, but Claire did not answer immediately. Then she said she would document everything, but she was not protecting her from consequences. That was the line Claire had needed to draw months earlier. The next morning, she filed for a restraining order. The evidence was extensive, as Ryan provided his full recording of the fake business meeting, building security-supplied footage of Vanessa visiting the property, and Claire provided the notes, messages, fraudulent complaints, manipulated posts, and evidence of the attacks against Ryan. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later, and when Vanessa was served, she reacted exactly as Claire expected. She launched another campaign online, claiming Claire was abusing the legal system to silence her, and then she created a fundraising page. According to Vanessa's version, she was a successful entrepreneur being persecuted by a jealous former friend, as she used old influencer photos to make herself appear financially successful and claimed Claire had destroyed her business. The fundraiser collected money before it was removed, then another appeared, and then another, while Ryan's fake reviews continued. Claire received unwanted food deliveries at strange hours, and repair workers arrived claiming she had reported emergencies that did not exist, including plumbers, electricians, and appliance technicians. None of them were real emergencies, but all of them had her address. The building manager finally warned Claire that the repeated disruptions were becoming a problem. For the first time, Claire understood Vanessa's strategy, realizing she did not need one giant attack, as she could make Claire's life so chaotic that Claire eventually became exhausted enough to quit fighting. But Claire did not quit. She documented every delivery, every service call, every fake account, and every indirect contact. A week before court, Claire found the piece that connected everything, as one of Vanessa's fundraising pages claimed Claire had gotten her evicted, but the dates were impossible. Claire checked the public records and discovered Vanessa had been evicted months before their reunion at the ice cream shop. The glamorous life Vanessa had been pretending to maintain had already collapsed long before Claire ever saw her again. Claire dug deeper, uncovering debt judgments, unpaid rent, defaulted loans, and credit card collections. The picture was ugly because Vanessa had not lost everything because Claire embarrassed her, as she had already lost everything, and Claire had simply become the person Vanessa blamed for it. Court day arrived with Vanessa representing herself, walking in carrying a folder filled with old photographs and screenshots from her influencer days. Claire's attorney presented the evidence chronologically, covering the fake posts, the edited recording, the account attacks, the notes, the fraudulent complaints, The workplace incident, the fake reviews, the deliveries, and the service calls, bringing one piece after another. Vanessa tried to interrupt, declaring she was her best friend, but the judge looked at her and stated that did not answer the question. Vanessa tried another approach, asserting Claire hated her because she was more popular, and as her voice became louder, she claimed Claire had always been jealous, claimed Claire had insulted her appearance, and produced the message where Claire had called her expired. For a moment, Vanessa seemed confident, but then the full context was presented, showing Vanessa had insulted Claire first, Vanessa had threatened her relationship, and Vanessa had continued after Claire tried to leave. The judge dismissed the argument, causing Vanessa's story to fall apart until she finally lost control and yelled that she owed her. The courtroom went silent as she screamed that she would not have anything without her, but Claire did not move. Vanessa pointed at her, screaming that she made her who she was. The judge warned her to stop, but Vanessa kept going, shouting that she was nothing in high school, nobody wanted her, and she gave her friends. The judge interrupted, saying that was enough. Vanessa's face changed as the confidence disappeared, and the judge granted the restraining order. Vanessa was forbidden from contacting Claire directly or through anyone else, could not approach Claire's home or workplace, contact Ryan about her, or post about Claire online, noting that violating the order could result in criminal charges. Vanessa stared at Claire, whispering that she would regret this, but security moved closer, and Vanessa was escorted out. For the first time in months, Claire went home without checking her phone every few minutes. The harassment stopped, bringing no notes, no fake deliveries, no suspicious messages, and no surprise appearances. Work stabilized while Ryan's legitimate clients began pushing back against the fake reviews, allowing his rating to slowly recover. Claire started sleeping normally again, and for several weeks, life was quiet. Then Linda called, revealing Vanessa had stopped going to therapy. Claire sat down and asked how long, and Linda replied it had been 3 sessions, sounding frightened as she explained she disappeared from their house last night. Claire immediately called her attorney because Vanessa had violated the conditions of her probation and was now missing. Claire and Ryan temporarily stayed elsewhere while authorities searched for her. They changed routines, avoided predictable places, and stopped posting anything publicly. Then Ryan's family reported something strange, explaining a woman had been asking questions about them at a coffee shop near where they were staying, claiming she was an old friend. Claire knew immediately that Vanessa had found them. That night, Claire and Ryan moved again to stay at a secure downtown hotel, where Claire barely slept. At 3 a.m, her phone buzzed with a motion alert, so Claire opened the security camera app and her blood went cold. Vanessa was standing outside their home, looking exhausted, dirty, and nothing like the woman from the old influencer photos, as she was trying keys in the front door. Claire watched in disbelief, and then she remembered the spare key she had once kept hidden near the entrance, realizing Vanessa must have copied it during one of her earlier visits. Ryan told her to call the police, but Claire already had her phone in her hand as she reported the restraining order, the probation violation, and the attempted entry. On the camera, Vanessa stepped back from the door and pulled a crowbar from her backpack. She slammed it against the lock once, then twice, bending the metal while Claire could hear Ryan breathing beside her. Police sirens suddenly appeared in the distance, so Vanessa looked toward the street and tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Officers surrounded the building and arrested her before she could force the door open. The next morning, Claire's attorney called with an update, explaining Vanessa had not just brought a crowbar, for inside her backpack were printed photographs of Claire and Ryan marked with red X's, along with detailed notes about their routines, workplaces, favorite locations, and daily schedules. This time, there was no argument about whether the harassment had gone too far because Vanessa had crossed the line, and Claire finally understood that the next chapter would not be about surviving Vanessa's lies, as it would be about making sure she could never reach them again. The arrest should have been the end of it, but the evidence in Vanessa Cole's backpack changed everything. Claire's attorney called that morning with the update, explaining the photographs, handwritten notes, copied key, and crowbar gave prosecutors a much stronger case than the original harassment charges. Vanessa had not simply shown up angry, for she had violated a court order, disappeared while under supervision, tracked Claire and Ryan to a temporary location, and arrived at their home prepared to force her way inside. For the first time, Claire was not being asked to prove that Vanessa was dangerous, as Vanessa had done that herself. She was held without bail while prosecutors reviewed the new evidence. Her probation was revoked, and the court ordered a full evaluation before the criminal case could proceed. Then other people started coming forward, beginning with someone Claire had never met. A former employee of Vanessa's contacted the prosecutor and said she had been afraid to speak earlier, revealing Vanessa had allegedly manipulated workplace records, lied about clients, and blamed coworkers whenever something went wrong. Then another person came forward, and then another. The stories were different, but the pattern was disturbingly familiar, as Vanessa would charm someone, convince them she needed help, gain access to their personal or professional life, and eventually exploit whatever trust they gave her. When confronted, she did not apologize, as she attacked instead, creating fake accounts, spreading rumors, contacting employers, and portraying herself as the victim. The prosecution did not need Claire to explain the pattern anymore because there were witnesses, there were records, and there were digital traces Vanessa could not talk her way out of. The criminal trial took months, and while Claire did not attend every hearing as she had a career to rebuild and a life that had been put on hold for far too long, her attorney handled most of the legal communication while Claire focused on getting back to normal. Normal felt strange at first, as she could walk into her office without wondering whether another complaint had arrived. She could open her email without expecting a threat, and Ryan could advertise his business again without worrying about. His reputation eventually recovered because real clients posted honest reviews explaining what had happened, and several people who had watched the situation unfold became customers specifically because Ryan had handled the harassment professionally, so his rating climbed again. Then Claire's firm gave her better news when her boss called her into his office, sat her down, and told her they were promoting her to senior associate. After everything that had happened, the title felt almost surreal, but he insisted she earned it and that the firm did not do her a favor. Claire smiled, for once knowing there was nothing Vanessa could take credit for, because the promotion had nothing to do with popularity, appearance, followers, or being chosen, as Claire had built it herself. Ryan's business expanded too as he hired employees, took on larger clients, and eventually moved into a proper studio. Their relationship survived the pressure, and more than survived it, they became better at communicating, better at protecting their boundaries, and much less willing to let outsiders dictate what happened inside their relationship. But Claire still had one unresolved question about what would happen to Vanessa, and she got the answer when Linda called to say she had been convicted. Vanessa had been found guilty of stalking, harassment, attempted breaking and entering, identity-related offenses, and violating the court's orders. The sentence was 3 years in state prison, followed by mandatory treatment and strict supervision. Linda cried while explaining it, stating she knew she had done terrible things, but noted she was still her daughter. Claire understood that, but she also understood that loving someone did not erase what they had done. When Claire asked if she was getting treatment, Linda confirmed she was, so Claire noted that was something. Linda was quiet, then revealed Vanessa had asked about her to know if she hated her. Claire looked out the window of her office and said no, surprising Linda, as Claire explained she did not hate her, but simply did not want her in her life. Linda said she understood, so Claire added that she did not want her sending messages between them, and Linda promised she would not. That was the last boundary Claire needed, bringing no contact, no updates unless they were absolutely necessary, and no reopening the door because Vanessa was lonely, guilty, or sorry. Months passed, and then years. Claire and Ryan eventually bought a condo in another part of Denver, and because it was not a fortress, it did not need security cameras covering every inch of the property, as it was simply home. That mattered, for Claire had spent too long letting one person's chaos dictate where she went, what she posted, and when she felt safe. Now she could come home and leave the curtains open. She could order food without wondering who had sent it. She could answer an unknown number without immediately assuming the worst, and she could live. One afternoon, while packing the last boxes from the old apartment, Claire found an old photograph sitting on the floor to look at it. She and Vanessa were teenagers, standing together at the beach, laughing at something outside the frame with no filters, no carefully posed smiles, and no follower counts. Just two kids who believed they would be friends forever. Claire almost threw the photograph away, but instead, she put it into a box. Not because she wanted Vanessa back, but because that photograph represented something important. The friendship had been real once, though that did not mean Claire had to pretend it remained healthy forever. People change. So sometimes they grow together, sometimes they grow apart, and sometimes one person changes into someone the other can no longer safely keep in their life. Claire chose to walk away, which was not cruelty, but a boundary. A year after Vanessa's conviction, Linda sent Claire one final update, explaining Vanessa had completed her sentence, moved into a supervised halfway house, worked a regular job, and attended mandatory therapy. Her old social media accounts were gone, the glamorous image had disappeared, and Linda said Vanessa had started admitting some of what she had done. Not everything and not perfectly, but enough that her therapist considered it progress. Claire did not ask for details because she did not need them. She hoped Vanessa changed, she hoped treatment worked, and she hoped Vanessa eventually became capable of having relationships without controlling, exploiting, or destroying the people around her. But Claire did not need to be part of that process. A distinction that took her a long time to understand. Helping someone did not mean becoming their target. Forgiving someone did not mean giving them access. And feeling sorry for someone did not mean protecting them from consequences. Claire had once believed being a good friend meant staying no matter what, but now she knew better. A few years later, Claire and Ryan got married with no drama, no surprise guest, no fake accusation, and no person waiting outside the venue to steal the spotlight, leaving just family, close friends, and two people who had already proven they could survive the worst version of life together. Claire walked down the aisle knowing exactly who she was. Not Vanessa's ugly friend, not the jealous girl from high school, and not the lawyer Vanessa claimed owed her success, but just Claire, a woman who had built her career, her relationship, and her future without asking permission from anyone. After the wedding, Ryan opened the door to their condo and laughed when he saw the mountain of gifts waiting inside, asking how long she thought it would take them to unpack all this. Claire predicted 3 months, and when Ryan joked that was optimistic, Claire laughed. It was an ordinary moment, and that was exactly what made it perfect. There were still reminders of Vanessa occasionally, like an old photograph, a mutual acquaintance mentioning her name, or a memory triggered by a place Claire had not visited in years. But the memories no longer controlled her. Vanessa had once convinced Claire that her entire identity existed in comparison to her, concerning who was prettier, who got more attention, who had more friends, who was more successful, and who deserved the better life. Claire eventually realized the competition had never been real, because Vanessa had been racing against everyone since she could not stand the possibility that someone else might be doing well without needing her approval. Claire had stopped racing, and that was the victory. It was not the conviction, not the prison sentence, and not watching Vanessa lose everything. For the real victory was waking up one morning and realizing she had not thought about her in weeks, then months, and eventually, almost never. Ryan's business kept growing. Claire eventually became a partner at her firm, and they traveled, hosted friends, argued about stupid things, made up, and built a life so ordinary that Claire sometimes forgot how extraordinary ordinary peace could feel. She still had the old photograph which stayed in a box with graduation programs, old birthday cards, and other pieces of a life that no longer existed. She did not look at it often, but when she did not feel anger, as she felt distance. That was different. For Vanessa had once been the person Claire thought she could not live without, but now Claire understood that sometimes the hardest part of growing up is accepting that loving someone does not mean you have to keep them. Some people enter your life and stay, some leave, and some teach you exactly where your boundaries need to be. Vanessa had taught Claire that friendship without respect was not friendship. Kindness without boundaries could become enabling, and a person suffering never gave them permission to destroy someone else's life. Claire had spent years thinking she was the less important person in every room, and Vanessa had made sure she believed it. But Claire's career did not depend on being beautiful, her marriage did not depend on being popular, her friendships did not depend on being impressive, and her worth had never depended on winning a competition Vanessa invented. Claire was not the ugly friend anymore, as she was simply Claire, and that was enough. She closed the box containing the old photograph and placed it on a shelf, then walked back into the living room where Ryan was waiting with 2 glasses of wine and a ridiculous amount of takeout. He held up the menu and asked, "Thai or pizza?" So Claire smiled and said both. Ryan laughed and called her his wife. For the first time in years, Claire did not wonder who might be watching. She did not check the door, she did not check her phone, and she did not calculate what could go wrong. She simply sat beside the man she loved and ate dinner in the home they had built together. Vanessa had spent years trying to convince Claire that she was nothing without her, but in the end, Vanessa had been wrong about the most important thing. Claire did not need to become more beautiful, more popular, richer, or more impressive to escape her, for she only needed to stop letting Vanessa decide what her life was worth, and once she did, there was nothing left for Vanessa to take.